Hey guys, it's Miss Olson. I am here with day 2 of our circle notes. Hopefully, you guys got through yesterday's notes just fine with all the vocab. Today, we're going to throw some math back in here and have some numbers. We are talking about central angles, and I believe I talked a little bit about those yesterday. So I'm going to give myself an angle here. So I will call this circle A. So A is the point in the center. So that means if I named my circle, I would call it circle A. So you might see something like this, the circle just with a dot in the middle and the letter A. That's the name of our circle. And then I will put 2 points out here, B and C. So my central angle would be angle BAC. And we call that a central angle because the vertex is at the center of the circle. Okay, so there's the name central angle. The vertex is at the center. So central angles have a property. It's a pretty easy property to remember. The property of central angles says that whatever the degree of the central angle is will also be the degree of the arc that it creates. So whenever we're looking at these, I always kind of draw with a pen or outline, not just the angle, but then also this arc that the angle creates. So when I say arc, if you think about a circle has 360 degrees around. This portion of the arc created by this angle is 93 degrees. So we would say, it says right here, the measure of arc AC from A to C named with 2 letters, meaning it is a minor arc, and it goes the shortest distance between A and C. So the measure of that arc is equal to the measure of angle ABC, and those things are both equal to 93 degrees. Okay, and then off to the side on the left here, it's talking about a major arc. So if I look at this major arc, ADC, that tells me I have to start at A, go through point D, and then land over here at C. So it's a major arc because it goes the long distance. It's named with 3 letters. And since I know every circle has 360 degrees, I can find the measure of this arc by simply taking 360 and subtracting the 93 that's coming from that pink arc. And I end up with 267 degrees. Okay, so there's 2 things we want to keep in mind. The measure of a central angle is equal to the arc that it creates. Also, I can use the fact that circles add up to 360 degrees to help me find other missing pieces. And it didn't say it here, but we can also remember that a half of a circle is 180 degrees, and that can help us also. So we're going to go through here and do some practice. So it says, if an angle is given, name the arc it makes. If an arc is given, name its central angle. So the way this is named with a little swoosh on the top tells me that that is an arc. So arc RS is what they are referring to. So I'm going to name the angle that's creating that. And that angle is right in there, that central angle. I would name that angle RQS. You could also say angle SQR. The Q just has to be in the middle. If I look at number 2, it says the major arc for angle 1. So angle 1 is here. Major means the long way around. So that would mean greater than 180 degrees. So instead of going to the left from point A, I'm going to go to the right because it says major arc. And I'm going to name a major arc with 3 letters, A, C, B. That's not a great swoosh, but that's supposed to be a swoosh. There we go. If I had named it just AB, then that would imply the shortest path between A and B, which would be a minor arc. So I have to be specific there. Number 3, angle KQL, K to Q to L. So there's the angle. It creates this matching arc over here, which would be KL. My swooshes are not very good on here. KL with a little swoosh on top. And then the last one here, SVT. So from S to V to T. So this little swoosh up here tells me it's an arc. The fact that it has 3 letters tells me it's a major arc. So I have to start at S, go through V, and then end up at T. And that angle be angle SQT. Okay, so that's just showing the relationship between central angles and their arcs. Now we're going to throw some numbers into this. So number 5 says find the measure of the arc or central angle indicated. So they just have little question marks showing what they want us to find. So if I look here, I'm looking at for this angle. So I'm going to highlight that angle, and then I'm just going to show myself by coloring it in here which arc that angle creates. So since that angle creates this arc of 120 degrees, then that angle must also equal 120 degrees because central angles are equal to the arc that they create. Number 6 over here, there's my central angle of 123. That's what I was given. I'm looking for this arc. Since central angles are equal to the arcs that they create, that arc must also be 123 degrees. Okay, so again, we're just kind of reinforcing that connection. And even if I was doing this at school on paper, I would still be kind of highlighting these angles and the arcs to show the little wedge, kind of like think of Trivial Pursuit, those game pieces, but just showing the angle and the arc that are connected. Okay, so the measure of arc CFD. So that means I have to start at C, have to go around to F, and I have to end up at D. So that's almost everything here, okay? So I need to use some properties of angles. I know that this angle creates an arc of 81 degrees. I know that this arc creates 135 degrees here. And then I have some things that I need to, that was pretty messy. I'll try to write that again. I have a couple pieces that I need to figure out because I need to add up this piece right here and this piece also. I only have kind of 2 of the 4 that I need to find the measure of angle CFD. So here I can think about a couple things. One of them says if you see a diameter, then just assume that that is actually a diameter. I can see that this line here goes through the center of the circle, so that would be a diameter. And the diameter, since it cuts the circle in half, that means on either side of that I have 180 degrees. So this little piece right here is going to be 180 minus 35 degrees. So that would be 45 degrees if I do that math off to the side. And then because this angle is a vertical angle with this one, that is also going to equal 45 degrees. So now to find the total distance all the way around, I'm just going to add up all 4 of these numbers all the way around. So I have 135, I have 81, and then I have 45 2 times. So I'm actually taking out a calculator right now. And I get 233. I think. That might have been really bad math. Let me check that. 135. That was bad math. I get 306 degrees. I must have pushed something wrong in my calculator. That seems better. Okay. Number 8. Find the measure of angle SPQ. So S to P to Q. So I'm looking for this angle right here. I'm going to assume that they want this distance with angles. It's kind of tough to tell. So angle SPQ would come from this 86. And then I would also have to add these 2 pieces over here. So if I think about that, I have 86, I have this 184, and I have 60. So all this right here is what remains if I take 360 minus 60 minus 154 minus 86. Okay, so those are the only 2 pieces that are unmarked. So I'll see if I can use my calculator better than the last time. and I get 60 right here. So that means the measure of this angle would be the sum of the two arcs it creates. So I'm getting 86 plus 60, which would be 144. Okay. The measure of arc EFC. So that means I have to start at E, go through F, and go all the way over to C. So this is the arc that I'm looking for. Arc is on the outside, so this 126 gives me an arc of 126 between these points here. So I need to find the other two. So since I don't have a lot of numbers, I want to start thinking about diameters again. So you can see diameters in lots of different places. I'm just going to put the one that I see first right through here. So I see that that adds up, or that is a diameter. It cuts my circle in half. So if I take 180 minus 126, I would say that this would then be 54 degrees. I also see that these two angles are vertical, so this is also 54 degrees. So to find the measure of that arc, I'm taking 54 plus 126 plus 54. So if I do that, I get 234 degrees. Okay, so I have to use a lot of different properties. I have to look for diameters and know that a diameter would equal 180 degrees. I'm also looking at vertical angles, okay, so which we've talked about this year, and I know you talked about last year. All right, last one here, and then I'm going to leave you guys with some practice. So the measure of angle MIJ. Okay, so MIJ. There's a few ways you can do this. Because I only have one number, I'm kind of thinking about diameters. And the first one I see is right here. So if this piece is 55, then the arc I'm looking for must be 180 minus 55. So the arc I'm looking for would be 125. And since that's the arc, it is also equal to that angle that I'm looking for, one here, right? So they asked me for the angle, but I know that central angles are equal to their arcs. So if I know one, I know the other. So my answer here is 125 degrees, okay? So this little symbol here is telling me angle. When I see the swoosh, I'm looking for arcs, but the central angles and the arcs are equal in measure. Okay, now we just have some that have some equation solving in here. So again, I'm looking at this one and I see a diameter in here that could help me, and it is telling me right up here, assume that lines which appear to be diameters are diameters. So that means I know these things have to add up to 180 degrees. So if I have 140 degrees here, then this piece must equal 40 degrees. So if I set that to equal 6x minus 8, then I can just solve that little equation that I wrote. And I end up with 48 equals 6x. I will divide and say that x equals 8. I can do a similar thing here. So I'm going to call that a diameter because it goes through the center and goes all the way across the circle. These little markings are telling me that these two angles are equal. So if they add up to 180 and they're equal, then they must equal 90. So I can take x plus 3 and set it equal to, or x plus 93, sorry, and set it equal to 90. And then when I solve, I get x equals negative 3. Okay. My hope today, guys, is to send you this so that you have my answer key, and then I'm going to ask you to complete this last page, which is practice. So you can go back and look at my notes, or you can always go back and watch this video, but I will have you guys open this up. This will be a Kami assignment in Google Classroom, and then all my writing should still be there, so you can look back at it, and you guys will be finishing the last page. I hope you are staying home and staying healthy.